Hello everyone, this is Professor Radigari, and in this lecture we're going to discuss Chapter 7 and Chapter 9. These relate to segmentation, targeting, and positioning. So starting out with Chapter 7, you should be able to find these lecture slides within Blackboard under this current week. So before I go through the lecture, I want you to think about this. Imagine you're the vice president of an athletic shoe manufacturer. How would you segment the marketplace? So hopefully you have already read the chapter on segmentation, so you understand what I mean when I say segment in a market. If you haven't, I recommend that you stop and do that, because it'll be certainly to your benefit. Okay? Alright, so just think about you being the VP of the athletic shoe manufacturer, and kind of think about things in these terms as we go through it, and we'll come back to it in a bit. Just note that target marketing, which is the targeting of specific groups, requires that you have information about distinct groups. Groups have different preferences, different wants, different needs, different desires, maybe even different shopping habits. So in order to target only those that are most likely to buy your product, you got to know who they are and where they are and what they are. And this is done through what we call market segmentation. This is the process of just identifying groups of customers based on some particular characteristic or variable. Okay, so for example, you sell products that are very high-end, Rolex watches, for example. One way to segment the market is by income. So you'll identify those people that are wealthy and also identify those that aren't wealthy. And the reason for this is people that aren't wealthy can't afford a Rolex, so why waste your time trying to target them? So don't even worry about it. So segmentation gives you these identified groups, again, that have distinct profiles, distinct characteristics that make them different from each other. And then through target marketing, what you do is then you decide which of those groups you want to market to in order to attempt to sell your products. Because at the end of the day, you can't market all your products to every single customer. It's just not going to work. You need to figure out how you can be more efficient and more effective. And segmentation and targeting allows you to be just that. So how can we segment markets? We can segment them on geography. We're going to put people from Massachusetts in one segment. We're going to put people from Texas in another segment, people from California in another segment, Florida, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, whatever, on and on and on. So people in these different areas might have different wants, different needs. Think about if you're H&R Block or some sort of tax consultant firm that works the entire country. Tax laws are different from state to state. Not federal income tax, but state level taxes, if there are state level taxes at all. So you can target your products in California different than the way you target your products in Texas, for example. Texas does not have a state income tax, so you don't even have to worry about that part of tax preparation. So you obviously won't promote your state tax preparation, whereas in California, Massachusetts, you certainly would. Okay, but if you're a firm that only does state tax preparations, then obviously you can cut Texas just completely out of your potential target markets, because they're not going to use your service at all. Okay, you can break things down. Demographics, male versus female, is very simple. Some products are very male specific, some products are very female specific. If you sell one or the other, clearly you only want to target those individuals that match up gender-wise. So trying to market your products to the other gender probably is going to be a futile effort and going to cost you a lot of money. Psychographic, these are things that people like to do. I like to go to baseball games. That's just what I do. Some people don't. So that may play into someone's hands in terms of who they market and how they market to people. People that go fishing, people that have ski boats, people that go hunting, people that, I don't know, like to go to museums. Any of these could be a variable in which you segment a marketplace. And if you're trying to target just museum goers, through segmentation you can find out who they are and where they are and be very focused on that particular segment. In the behavioral benefit sought, it's just reasons, well, benefit sought is reasons for using the product, and behavioral is just do they use the product and to what capacity. We'll talk about each of these. Demographic segmentation, again, male versus female. You can look at race, you can look at culture, you can look at national origin, you can look at native language. There's lots of different ways you can segment based on demographics. So if you're one of these 3 TV stations, I don't have to tell you who their target audiences are because you already know that. But if I were one of these 3 TV stations, I want to find the people that are most likely to watch my station to market to and to market my advertisers' messages to. So clearly, MTV, for example, targets the youth. So, there's no point in trying to target middle-aged and older individuals because they're just not going to watch MTV. BET has a very specific segment they go after, that's African Americans. Univision obviously is for Spanish-speaking individuals, so the same thing. It allows them to cut out pieces of the market that are not going to use their product or service or watch their channel, for example. So it allows you to be more efficient. Psychographics, again, basically what people like to do. And so there's a bunch of different companies that create psychographic profiles of individuals. Not really need to talk about too much, but here's an example. Porsche, for example. If you look at just people that drive Porsches or people that drive cars, fancy cars, high-performance cars, research has dropped these people into these 5 categories. Top Guns. These are people that drive cars because they're flamboyant, they like to show off, they want to be in control, they have lots of power. Elitists. These are people that are rich and have always been rich, and a Porsche has just always been a car. It's just always been a Porsche, no big deal. So they drive them for different reasons, just because. Proud patrons. These are the middle-aged men who work for 30 years, and the car is their reward for working hard and keeping their head down and saving money. Bon vivant. These are people that drive cars for excitement, for adventure. People that like to drive fast and drive for fun. And then finally, finesse. I can't even say the word. But for these people, the car is a form of escape. It's not really about impressing people. It's just about getting away from life. You get out on the open road with a Porsche with the top down and just to enjoy being out there. It's a form of escape for you. Okay, it's a little different than the bon vivant. Okay, behavioral segmentation. Again, psychographics is segmenting based on what people like to do. Behavioral kind of is very similar, but it's just based on usage of the product, what they use, how much they use it, those types of things. So variables that are sometimes used are occasions. Think about pickup trucks. Pickup trucks, some people use them for work, some people use them for play. Some people, they just like to drive a pickup truck. So you've got 3 different types of individuals that you may be able to tailor specific messages to that might not benefit the other groups that drive trucks for different reasons. So benefits, user status, buyer readiness. Think about the car buying process. Some people they come in, they're ready to buy the car today. Other people, they're just starting to think about that maybe they need a new car. So you definitely want to put those people in different groups so you can better understand who they are. Loyalty, people that are really highly loyal, they're going to respond to anything you say. People that aren't loyal, it's going to be a little tougher. So if you break them into 2 groups, you can have one message for the loyals and one message for the non-loyals. Okay, so behavioral segmentation, again, at the most basic level, it's whether or not people actually buy or use the product. So questions you might ask here are, how much do you use? How often do you use it? Are you using the competition? If you're not using ours, are you using us and the competition at the same time? If you're not using our products, can you potentially use our products. So categorization here typically is usage rates or user status. So think about beer, for example. I don't know if you guys like beer, but I like beer. I like beer a whole lot. I don't drink it all the time, a couple a week, no big deal. But other people drink a lot. Some people hate their jobs and they go to the bar after work, or they go home and have a six-pack every night. Completely different usage rates. Another way we can look at this is user status. Some people, wealthy people drink one kind of beer, less wealthy people drink another kind of beer. Young people drink light beers, older people may drink more sophisticated beers. So all this information can help you understand who your target market is and how you can tailor a message to that particular group or series of groups. Okay? Then we have benefits sought. This takes the idea of behavioral and takes it one step further. This is not do they or do they not buy our product. This is why do they buy our product. Okay? So if we think about beer, we can kind of stay in the same little vein here. But benefit sought is based on understanding of what problems is the product solving, what benefits does it offer. So beer, why do people drink beer? And the answer to that question creates different segments. Well, some people drink beer because it tastes good. Some people drink beer because it makes them feel good. Some people drink a particular type of beer because it has fewer calories. Some people, frankly, guys, gentlemen that is, some people drink beer because it makes it easier to talk to girls. So there's all these different ways, reasons for consuming beer. And there's a lot of different reasons for purchasing other products, for example. So if we can know why people buy a particular product, above and beyond if they actually do buy it, again, gives us more information that helps us better tailor our message to consumers and allows us to X out those that may not fit our profile. So Guinness, for example, or fancy heavy beer. I like heavy beers. They're generally more expensive. They certainly are heavier. You can't drink a whole bunch of them without getting a stomach ache or feeling like you just had a huge dinner. So some people love that. College kids, Guinness doesn't really have to worry about college kids too much because, again, they're just not into that. They want the lighter beer, the cheaper beer, the feel-good, in a hurry type, or more bang for your buck type of product. So, Guinness doesn't really target college kids, and Busch Light doesn't really target, people that typically drink dark beers. It's benefits sought. I just gave away my example, but here just I was supposed to talk about it here, but I jumped the gun a little bit. But just know that people who drink Busch Light drink it for a different reason than people that drink Guinness. So, this process of creating these segments, these groups of individuals with the same characteristics, in order for us to consider those segments viable or effective, part of an effective segmentation process, they have to be 5 things. They have to be measurable, substantial, accessible, differentiable, actionable. Measurable. You have to be able to measure within each segment what that particular variable is. So income. If you don't know people's income levels, you can't segment based on income. Those segments have to be substantial. You can't have, segments that have 6 people in them while others have 10 million people in them. What does a 6-person segment do for you? Nothing, unless you're selling Boeing 747s. So it has to be substantial enough to potentially lead to some sort of profit or some sort of gain. Accessible. You have to actually physically be able to reach these segments. A particular segment lives in a very remote part of the country where you can't get to. That's a problem. People that don't have computers, internet access, that could be a problem. It makes them harder to be accessible. Differentiable. You should be able to tell the different segments apart. If you can't, you just have one big segment. You really haven't done anything. You're back to just this mass market. And then actionable. You have to be able to take some action with some positive result within the particular segments. So maybe you've developed these segments, but you can't really do anything with them. They're not willing to buy your products anyway. Then what do you have? You may find through segmentation that you can't find any particular group that's willing to purchase your product. So thus they're not actionable, and you're really in a pickle at that point. You've got some serious problems. So those are the 5 segmentation criteria that have to be met. Okay, so once you've created this this group of segments, then what you do is you go through and you pick out the ones that you feel can be of most value to the firm. Okay, so remember, segmentation is creating these groups. Selection or targeting is actually picking out the groups that you're going to target. And not always, but generally, you don't pick all the segments. You just pick a couple of them. Rolex only picks rich people. The MTV only picks young people. But there are occasions where you can, select all segments. Walmart, for example, can meet most segments, and McDonald's as well. So just 2 kind of rough examples. But you've got to look, before you pick, you've got to look at their overall attractiveness, and does it meet your objectives. Okay, so can you actually make money off of this segment? Does it feel like it's a promising opportunity there? Yes, viable candidate for selection. No, then don't worry about it. And then objectives and resources. Do we have the money to make this happen with this particular segment? And also, does it meet with our objectives? Maybe you sell some sort of, I don't know, let's just say clothing, and it's outdoorsy type clothing, hiking and biking and backpacking and outdoor stuff. Well, you've identified a number of segments: the hikers, the bikers, the backpackers, the day trippers, those types of people, and then you've also identified hunters. Well, maybe something in the company's corporate policy or the company's mission statement is anti-violence or anti-gun. Well, even though that hunter segment might be attractive, it might be actionable, it might be reachable, if it's not consistent with the company's objectives, obviously you're not going to pick it. So you're going to kind of just leave that alone. So that would be an example of a segment that you don't pick because it's inconsistent with the company's objectives, goals, philosophy, those types of things. Okay, kind of said another way, for segments to be attractive, they need to be large enough, means enough people that you can make some sort of headway. They need to have definable characteristics. You know what they are. The people within those within the segment have some characteristic that's unique to that particular group. And then also they have to be profitably persuaded. Will they actually buy the product? Okay, so go back to our hypothetical scenario. You're the vice president of the shoe manufacturer. How will you segment the market? And again, this is being a recording. We can't really have a discussion here, but just think about it for a minute. You can pause the recording if you'd like, and just think about it for a few minutes. But just think about athletic shoes, and we can define athletic shoes any way you want. You can say any type of athletic shoe. We can say just basketball shoes. We can say consistent with the picture. We can say just kind of vintage sports sneakers that are now pretty much just kind of stylish walking around shoes and they're no longer used for sport. We can segment based on why they wear the shoe, those types of things. Okay. So, why do you wear athletic shoes? This is a way to segment. This is a behavioral segmentation. Well, people wear athletic shoes because of high performance. They think it makes them run faster or jump higher or whatever. Some people buy them for medical reasons because they're much more comfortable. They provide more support than traditional shoes. Comfort could be another one. You could actually split medical reasons and comfort into two. And also maybe for fashion. Some people buy, like Chuck Taylors, for example, not because they want to play basketball in them, but because they look cool. So that would be an example of a segmentation of an athletic shoe manufacturer's potential market. And then once you have this, you have to decide who you want to target. Maybe you target them all. Maybe you just go after, say, the performance, because it's the highest group. Again, it just depends on the company's goals, objectives, resources, those things. Okay, switching gears just a little bit. So you've got all these segments, and when you're deciding which ones you're going to go after, there's some different strategies you can employ. Sometimes firms just pick one segment. That would be what's shown here as a single segment concentration. We're just focusing on one particular segment. Okay. Then you have selective specialization. This is where you pick just a couple different segments. You don't pick them all, you pick a couple. Product specialization. This is where you produce one product for multiple segments. Not necessarily all segments, but basically just one product. And you have market specialization. This is where you produce multiple products and services for one particular segment. So we can say it's a special case of a single segment concentration. You're focusing on one segment, but meeting all of their needs or many of their needs. And then you have full market coverage. And full market coverage is where you are targeting all segments. So basically you're saying you're not treating the entire market as one segment. You do recognize them as individual segments, but you're serving each of them in some particular way. Okay? This is Walmart, for example. You know, even the rich people, there's a market for rich people at Walmart as much as there is for people that have financial problems. So, just briefly, full market coverage. Again, what I just mentioned in the last slide in terms of full market coverage is what's called differentiated marketing, where you operate in all the segments and you have different products, different services, different promotions, different programs, whatever it might be for each of those segments. So you're specializing per segment, but you're going after all the segments. Well, undifferentiated is just kind of what I mentioned earlier. It's just the fact that the entire market is treated as one segment. So you go after everyone in the same manner. And this kind of is probably what Walmart does, for example. They may target different groups differently, but chances are they don't really have to do that. Everyone likes to save a little bit of money, so undifferentiated probably works better for them. Advantage of undifferentiated marketing is it's cheap. It's one message for everybody, one product for everybody. The drawback of that is it may not be as efficient as possible. Maybe that doesn't appeal to lots of people. So, and the differentiated market will be the exact opposite. It's much more costly, but it's much more efficient in terms of chances of being successful within a particular segment or within numerous segments. Okay. This is a little chart from the book that just graphically shows each of those different types of coverages. Single segment, again, you're focusing on one product in one segment. Selective specialization, you have multiple products, multiple segments, really no rhyme or reason. Product specialization is you're focusing mainly on one particular product across multiple markets. Market specialization, one market focus, pretty much providing them everything they need. And again, full market coverage is you're to some degree in all markets with all products. So full market coverage we can call kind of jack of all trades, master of none, whereas these others you're much more specific. So the question that always comes up is which one of these is the most risky? And it just really depends. But selective and full market are probably to some degree the least risky. But think about market specialization, for example. You're becoming the one-stop shop for them. But what happens if that market goes away? Then what do you have? Nothing. You got to start from scratch. Same thing with product specialization. You produce one product. What happens if there's some problems with that product or the market for that product just dries up? Then what do you got? Nothing. You've got to start over. selective specialization, full market coverage, you've got some diversification going on. So if you have problems with one market or with one product, it's not going to impact as much the entire company. Okay? Okay, never mind that last slide. All right, that's chapter 7. I want to slide now to chapter 9. Okay, this chapter is about positioning. Positioning is just basically how you're viewed in the minds of the consumer. Okay, so the tough thing for people to wrap their heads around in terms of positioning, at least at this stage, is that positioning is completely in the mind of the consumer. This is all about perceptions. So the challenge is to create some sort of image in consumers' minds that allows them to view your product as different from all the competitors' products. So even though it's perception, we know that perception is reality. Okay? So you've got to have a very focused message, a very focused value proposition to provide some sort of meaning for your brands and for your products, so people will, again, be able to differentiate it from the competition. So just think about Toyota, for example. When you think of Toyota, what do you think of? Reliable, safe, somewhat stylish. Lots of other things come to mind. Well, those things you think about Toyota are positions that they have created through marketing, through advertising, through promotions, through the creation of these particular types of cars, and for creating the reliability that they have. They've created these positions in our minds. Okay. What about Porsche? What do you think of when you think of Porsche? This is a classic old Porsche advertisement from probably Sports Illustrated, probably in the mid-'80s. And the point here is how you view Porsche is completely different than how you view Toyota, and that's because of different positioning strategies. Again, on the same theme, Volvo. What do you think of when you think of Volvo? Safe, pretty much. What about Ford? Well, Ford puts it right there in their slogan. They're tough. It's a durable, strong, tough, durable product. Those are all positions. So every branded product has some sort of position. Everyone's fighting for a spot in everyone else's mind, and it can be a challenge. Now, when trying to understand a product's position or a brand's position or even a company's position in the marketplace, firms do, sorry for my moving around, getting a little uncomfortable here. Firms do sometimes what's called, they build a perceptual map. And this is just a map where you have two variables and you put different products, different brands, whatever it might be. You map it onto this chart as you would, just like a geometry graph or a trigonometry graph, but you just put little dots based on positions in the marketplace. If you look at this, on the y-axis we've got cost, and on the x-axis we have speed. So cold cereal is much quicker than hot cereal or pancakes, but probably a little bit more expensive. Boxed cereal is pretty expensive. Bacon and eggs is much more expensive. You've got meat, you've got eggs in there. It's also very slow. It takes a while to cook. Pancakes take a while to cook, but they're much cheaper than bacon and eggs. Hot cereal, similar price to pancakes, but much quicker. And then instant breakfast is the cheapest, basically the cheapest and the quickest. So if you were trying to enter into the cold cereal market, for example, you've got to know that you're going to be competing against hot cereal, and that you're more expensive than hot cereal, but you're quicker. So what do you do here? Well, you promote yourself as quick, much quicker than hot cereal. All right. So just gives us a lot of good graphical information here that will allow us to make some decisions. Okay, with positioning, we got to talk about points of parity and points of difference. Points of difference are things that set us apart from the competition. Okay, so think about for a minute. Think about Netflix versus Amazon Instant Video. Most of us are familiar with Netflix, but we may not all be familiar with Amazon Instant Video. Amazon Instant Video is basically the same thing as Netflix, but there's a key difference. Netflix, you pay a monthly subscription fee, and I'm just talking about the online version. I'm not talking about Netflix DVDs, just the online. You pay a certain subscription fee every month. I think it's $8 or $9, something like that, and you can watch unlimited movies on it. And Amazon Instant Video, on the other hand, is online streaming video, but you pay for an individual film. You say, well, okay, I want to watch Chariots of Fire tonight. You can go on Amazon Instant Video's website and pay $3 or $4 to watch Chariots of Fire. So clearly they appeal to much different types of consumers. Netflix is for those that watch a lot of movies. Amazon Instant Video is those that probably only watch 1 or 2 movies a month. Also, the selections are a little different. The Amazon Instant Video is going to have, seems to have at least newer releases than Netflix, but Netflix is a lot more extensive in general, I would say. Those are points of difference. Points of parity, these are things we do that are similar to the competition. Okay? So, why is this important? Well, I think, we can't be different from our competitor on all attributes. So, basically we find out what attributes our competitors do well and kind of try to match those. And then once we're kind of level on all those attributes, then we find out what we need to do differently to kind of create some sort of competitive advantage. So Netflix and Amazon, they both have instant video. You can watch movies from your house without having to go out. Okay, so but those points of difference make them unique and create these different positions and allow them to have different target markets and different customer bases. So, but Amazon, when they came in, they certainly wanted to have did everything completely different from Amazon. You just can't do that. You've got to kind of stick to industry standards and have a couple little tweaks that make you different, make you unique. And obviously, they have to be things that people will respond to. Okay. So McDonald's, Burger King, how are they the same? Fast food, burgers, those types of things. How are they different types of burgers, different types of food. Their fries taste differently. I think McDonald's has Coke products. I think Burger King may have Pepsi products. I can't tell you the last time I was in a Burger King, so I'm not quite sure. But the point is, most competitors are similar on most things, but then they have the 1 or 2 things that allow them to compete against the other. So, in order to kind of figure out how you're going to be different than the competition, you've got to consider how desirable your difference is. Is it relevant? Is it truly distinct? Is it believable? Think about Netflix. Is it really true that I can watch as many movies as I want each month for $8? You got to get people to be on board with that and believe it. But you also have to be able to deliver the point of difference. Is it easy enough to deliver? Can we communicate this delivery to the market? And can we continue to deliver it to the market? Okay. Lexus has created some great points of difference there. They're similar to Mercedes, but they have their different stylings and different performance and different levels of quality and reliability. So allows them to carve out this position or this niche in the marketplace. The other logo you may not recognize, this is the old Edsel. But Edsel had problems with marketing. They couldn't ever really separate themselves from Ford and from the other competitors. So without having a really strong point of difference, what happens? Well, the rest is history. They were a miserable flop. They didn't last very long, and exited the market rather quickly. Kind of egg in the face of Ford for sure. Product differentiation is how do we, in terms of creating points of difference, what we're doing is we're differentiating ourselves from the competition. And we can differentiate ourselves through the actual product itself. So different product forms. If you think about the iPad versus the Samsung Galaxy Tab, for example, they're a little bit different. The physical product itself is different. They can have different features. They can have different levels of customization. I have an old iPod that has my name engraved in the back of it. If you ordered it from iPod's website, they would engrave it for free. So that was kind of cool. Performance quality, different products at different levels of quality. You may be saying, well, what's the deal? Why would some people want a lower performance quality? Well, some people just do. Maybe it has to do with affordability, for example. Conformance quality, same thing. It's we can differentiate ourselves in how we meet the wants and needs of the consumer. Durability, how long did it last? Craftsman Tools differentiated themselves on lifetime warranties. I believe a lot of the other tool companies now match that. But at one point that was a key differentiation variable for them. Reliability never has to be fixed. Maytag Repairman, good example. Can it be repaired? Style, just how it physically looks, and the actual physical design. Apple is easy to use, real sleek, real easy to use. So that could fall under the design differentiation for sure. Something that certainly sets Apple apart from everyone else. You can also differentiate yourself on service. Make it easy to order. Amazon's got a one-click feature. I use that all the time. It's great. I don't know if other online retailers have that, but I may never know because I always go to Amazon. Delivery. Just a brief example. My stepfather actually used to own an office supply store in a small town where there also was a Walmart, and they never could compete with Walmart on price, obviously. In fact, Walmart was selling their products to retail lower than what my stepfather's store, Office Equipment Center, could buy them for at wholesale or through the middleman. So you just can't compete with that. But what they did do is they had very good after-sales service. They would deliver the products. They had open accounts, kind of the old-fashioned credit where you just put it on my bill and send me a bill every month. And they have a lot of after-sales service for copy machines and furniture and those types of things. So it allowed them to compete with Walmart, even though they never could, obviously never could match their prices. So that's a problem with a lot of firms as Walmart has kind of grown, is that they think they have to match Walmart's prices, and clearly that's not a wise option. It's not a wise strategy, and it's run thousands of firms out of business. Installation. Some places install, some places don't. That creates a difference. Those that do install could probably charge a little bit more, so it allows them to have a full service type price, and those that do kind of self-service will have a lower price. Customer training. Some different products have really strong customer training programs. You buy a car, come back in, they'll teach about all the features, those types of things after the sale. Consulting, maintenance and repair, all these things are service differentiation variables. And Walmart has, or at least used to have, a very liberal return policy, and so allows them to compete against places like Target and Kmart. Again, those places may be matching them now. I'm not exactly sure, but it's certainly an area where there can be some points of difference. Other differentiation levels, personnel. I don't know if you fly Southwest much, but all the personnel, from the people that work on the tarmac to the people at the ticket desk to the people on the plane, all seem to usually be very friendly and having a good time, and that really makes a good impression on people. Channel differentiation. Amazon was the first online bookseller and allowed them to gain a foothold and start to do what they're doing today. Again, obviously most other firms now have the internet as a channel for buying books and things like that, but they were the first, and it was a huge point of difference for them for a long time. Image differentiation. I guess I mentioned this already with the product differentiation, but just broadly, think past the iPod, think past the individual product, but just the image of the corporate brand. Apple has got this real innovative, kind of young, kind of hip type image that allows them to set themselves apart from places that sell competing products like, say, Samsung. Even though the products are going to be to some degree the same, there are some differences, but to some degree the same, this image this image allows them to really create this unique set of characteristics in the consumer's mind. Alright, switching gears quickly. I'm not going to talk about this in too much detail, but the chapter goes on to talk about competition and how we deal with competition. Okay? So, when we're considering entering into a market, you have to look at the attractiveness of that market. How many competitors are in a particular segment? What is the chance that other people, other competitors can enter? Is it easy to enter? What is the threat that consumers might go and buy the competitor's product? What is the threat that buyers have bargaining power? They're going to drive prices down to a point where we can no longer compete profitably. Suppliers' bargaining power. To what degree do suppliers have some sort of influence over us that might cause some problems down the line that will limit the attractiveness of that market? So, again, this is about competitive strategy, so selecting competitors. What do I mean when I say that? I just mean, if you've got many competitors in the marketplace, you can't, directly go head-to-head with each one of them and try to rip market share away. You've got to kind of choose your battles. It's like running in a road race. You can't, 5K race, you're 1K in, you can't say, well, okay, I'm gonna go after the guy in first place, and I'm gonna go up there and beat him, even though you're 10 minutes behind him already. So what you do is you have to kind of pick individual companies, individual runners, if you will, to compete against. So you can pick strong competitors versus weak competitors. Most companies tend to pick weak competitors because A, there are a lot more of them, and B, they're much easier to overtake. So you can build up market share and your customer base kind of a little bit at a time than taking on the impossible task of trying to take market share away from the strongest, market leader. Close versus distant. This is basically similar versus dissimilar. Most companies go after those that resemble them the most. They're pretty much dead now, but think about Best Buy versus Circuit City. They certainly battled each other, and one reason they did that is because they were very similar. And to some degree, consumers had a hard time telling them apart. So they really focused on each other and trying to create this point of difference and compete against them. Good versus bad. Some competitors are good ones, and some competitors are bad ones. You don't want to mess with the bad competitors, because they play dirty. So you have to pick and choose your battles and pick the honest ones. So you're in the marketplace with all your competitors. There are different strategies that you can undertake. You can be the leader, the one out in front everyone's chasing. You can be the challenger, the one that's not in first but is interested in being first and doing what it takes to become the leader. You got followers. These are firms that are not in the lead, and they're okay with their position in the marketplace. They don't expect to ever be number one, and that's okay. They're good just being a follower. Avis is a good example of this. Their slogan is "We try harder," which kind of implies that, yeah, we're not number one, we're not going to be number one, but hey, we try real hard in what we do. Nicher, these are companies that go after one particular very small segment. Luxury products could be considered niche markets, and so like Porsche, you could say is a niche player, as would be Rolex, Rolls-Royce, those types of companies. An example, company that I know that I would assume is out of business now, but back before Chrysler made their Jeeps with the 4 doors and with the extended bodies, there was a firm in Missoula, Montana that would actually take a brand new Jeep and extend it for you. And you would actually buy your Jeep from the manufacturer. The manufacturer would ship it by train to Missoula, and they would do whatever they do to lengthen it, and then they would send it back to the customer. So this is an example of an extreme niche market. It's just people that want a Jeep and want a longer Jeep. Okay, so you cut out a lot of different people. So, but you know, you can be very profitable in a small little spot like that. You're the big fish in the small pool, as they say. It can work. So if you're a market leader, things you can do to continue to grow: you can expand the total market. Maybe the market is a certain size, you can grow that market. So basically what you're doing is if you think about a pie, a pie chart where you have pieces of a pie, okay, like this one here. So what you're doing when you're expanding the total market is you are making the pie itself, making this whole pie bigger. You're not changing the percentages, you're just making the whole pie bigger. So if the number of customers in this pie is 1 million, your goal is to now get it up to 1.1 million or 1.2 million. So your market share stays the same, but your revenue base goes up because there are more people comprising that 29%. Okay? Second thing you can do is you can defend your market share. You get to a certain point where you're happy with your market share, you can vigorously defend it against competition. And then finally, you can expand your market share. You want to take some of this 71% away, so you want to go to 30%, 31, 32, and on up. So sometimes it can be difficult, but leaders tend to know what they're doing. So if you're trying to expand the total market, different ways you can do that. And again, this is increasing the pie. You can penetrate the market in other ways with new products, for example. With new products, you can create new market segments. You can go into find places where there's untapped value and there's unsatisfied wants. You can go in and create a new segment. That'll grow the pie. Geographical expansion. Say you just operate in one particular area. Well, as long as you're not segmenting based on geography, if you're segmenting based on, say, income, well, there are people outside of your geographic area that have, similar levels of income to those that you're targeting within your geographic area, so you can just jump and start targeting them as well. So you're expanding the total market by going into a different geographic location. All right, if you're trying to grow your market share, obviously this is a big thing. Investors tend to like this. When you grow your market share, you have a larger percentage of customers in the market than you did before. Something you have to be careful with in this regard is the effect of increased market share on actual and perceived quality. Sometimes firms get too big and they just kind of lose their luster. Subway used to be kind of a novelty. There were submarine sandwich shops just ever so often, but now there's one on every street corner, and it's kind of lost its uniqueness, and you kind of question the firm, what they're doing, and they're just kind of stepping on each of their franchisees' toes, forcing them to be so close to other Subways. So, it's just, sometimes the growth leads to, negative perceptions. You gotta be careful. Microsoft got too big, and Starbucks is getting too big, and Starbucks is still very popular, but there's been some backlash. I know some small towns where Starbucks have gone in and just have been completely run out of town. So got to be careful growing and creating new market share. So if you're the challenger, if you're going after the leader, you have to figure out who you're going after, and then you go after them. Again, you can go after the leader, or you can go after some of the other followers or challengers. Okay, if you're a follower, what do? Not much, really. Well, illegally you can counterfeit, which clearly I'm not going to endorse that. Clone. Think about the clone CPU market. I'm not sure if it's still even a viable market, but it used to be, market followers. They would create computers that were similar to Microsoft and Packard Bell and Compaq computers, but yet were their own. They knew that they were never going to be as big as Packard Bell, but they didn't care. Imitator, cloners, imitators, very similar. Counterfeiter, I guess all three of those are kind of similar. The only difference is counterfeiters are illegal, other two are not. Adapter, you just kind of go with the flow and kind of adapt as the market changes, just kind of to maintain your little place there, in the market share rankings, for example. Just a funny example, McDowell's, if you've ever seen the movie Coming to America. They had McDowell's burger joint. Clearly it's a imitator of McDonald's, although McDonald's would probably have some serious problems with this if it was real, but that would be an example of a market follower strategy. So anyways, that's it. If there are any questions, please do not hesitate to let me know, and have a great week, and we will talk again shortly. Thank you.